Well, welcome back. I hope you had a wonderful lunch and a good visit with everybody else. You know, my mother, she was always very good in terms of the friends and spending time with family as well as with her friends. That was kind of what her life was about. And when she was a little farm girl, of course, you didn't get a chance to see people except when you went to school. And in Oklee, Minnesota, don't you know, is it was small classes. So, you know, you had like one whole 1st through 8th grade that was all in, you know, like the one house. So, but she enjoyed having time with people, and then later on, you know, went to college, and then thank God she got married to my father, because I am here. So, at any rate, we're going to take a look at some of her life story, and so what I think we'll do is we'll kind of intersect, do maybe a little bit of about 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes for the first part of her life story, which is up until she becomes a teacher and gets married, and then we'll stop, and then we'll do some eulogies, and let you can do your testimonials, and that'll be great. Then we'll kind of go back and forth. So, are you ready to begin?
Ready.
Wonderful. Thanks once again for being here. And my mom can tell the stories much better than I can, so I hope you get some laughs on this and enjoy it. Okay, here we go.
My name is Delia Nistler. My maiden name was LaCoursiere. I was born on a very momentous day, April the 28th in 1927. So whatever day you're watching this, you'll be able to figure out how old I would be at that time. A lot of women are kind of shy or hesitant about telling their age, but I've never had a problem with that. I feel like if I got to where I am, I should be proud of it. The LaCoursiere family history is rather unique in that our ancestry originally came from Parish, France, and this was probably around 1750s. I'm not definite on the number. The person that came was a soldier, and he was sent by the King of France to protect the settlers in the area of Trois-Rivières, Three Rivers, where my ancestors settled. I wanted to check on if we could find any relatives there, and it seemed like a very prosperous area. Well, now a lot of people in the Oklee area came from Three Rivers and settled in the Oklee, Red Lake County area. Our home property, our home farm, probably had the best soil in that area. Now, during the Depression, my dad was proud that he was one of the few people that had not overextended himself on a lot of credit, and a lot of the farms were put in bankruptcy because people could not make their payments. They were very frugal. They wanted to, when they did buy something, they wanted it to be quality. Like when he bought his first, well, I don't know, it wasn't his first car, but when he bought a car, it was paid for in cash, and he wanted a good one. And whatever they bought, it had to be a good. It had to be more than just good. It had to be better or best. And it had to be paid for in cash. They had seen what happened during the Depression and what had happened when people overextended themselves. So that was their feelings to pay in cash. Their bank in Oklee had gone bankrupt. And one of my relatives, they called him the governor because he was an entrepreneur. The governor had kind of indicated to my family that the bank was going to close down, was going to be bankrupt. After that, my parents didn't put all their money in one bank. they would go to two other banks besides the Oklee Bank. They had money in the McIntosh Bank and in the Foston Bank, and about once a year they'd make a trip, to go take care of whatever needed to be on their accounts there. Well, it was spring in Minnesota when I was born, and I was the first child, so a lot of people thought I was a little bit the special one in the family. Also, I was the only girl, and my parents, being farmers, both go out and do the milking. We had Holstein cattle on the farm, and they were milking cattle. So my mother had to help with a lot of the farm work that nowadays women wouldn't consider, I don't think. But back in those days, women did a lot of men's work, as well as doing all the cooking and the cleaning and all of this. We had 8 to 10 cows, and those Holstein cows gave a lot of milk. And so that was one of the things I wanted to go to college for. I didn't want to do that work. Of course, besides the cows, we also had many chickens. We had corn and beans and peas, tomatoes, beets, carrots. We had all of these vegetables. And so my mother was a good cook, and she would put some of the chicken pieces, which were cooked and with the vegetables, and can them in quart jars. And so then in the wintertime we'd have, soup. When the calves were born, my brothers could see the calves being born, but oh no, Delia can't see this. This is not a good thing for girls to see. So I had never even seen an animal being born until after my 2 sons were born. I saw a cat. Our mother cat had about 6 kittens, and we had come home from a party, and Leo says, well, I think she's going to have her kittens tonight. So I stayed up till about 2 or 3 in the morning because I wanted to see. I wanted to see it. I've always been a very curious person. I don't know how come I hadn't seen it before. So then the next thing that I remember about my life, of course, was going to school. And before I started school, I would see the neighbor children, older children, going on the highway. And they were going home or going to school. And I wanted to be part of them, and I wanted to go to school too. And so I wanted to learn to read. And now I'm about 5 when I just really wanted to learn to read. So we talked one of these neighbor children to bring home from school a little, what we call a primer, or beginning a reader. And I wanted my mother to teach me how to read. And so she did. And so when I started school, I had a little bit of knowledge about reading. But in my home, we were really not bilingual. We spoke French in the house. My grandmother stayed with us a lot of the time, and she was French and pretty much spoke only French, limited English. So in deference to her, we spoke French. And so did all the other neighbors. The French Canadian, they just liked to stay with their language, not to forget it. My mother made all of our clothes. I never had a purchased dress. Back in those days, we wore bloomers. Girls had bloomers, and of course we wore dresses. But the bloomers covered us very adequately because they were kind of a blossomy thing with elastics just about at the knee. And these were made out of flour sacks. When we got flour, it was in ours. My goal was when I got to high school, I would be the very best student that I could be. So my parents were very frugal. And I guess because I was brought up that way, Leo and I both feel the value of money. And we've always been careful, saved our money, tried to make good investments. with if we had any extra. But from the very first year that we were married, we made a commitment that even though we hardly made anything, Leo just was the only one teaching then, and at that time we put $25 a month in a savings account. Now we can hardly go out to dinner with that money, but that was just the model that we set, that we would always set aside every month some money for emergency, or if we suddenly needed something, well, we'd have it. And then when my brothers, of course, when they got older, we did a lot of things together. We played checkers, and we played hit the can. We would take a empty tin can with, everybody had a stick, and you'd have a goal with the two sides, and you tried to get your can first and to your goal side, and you had of course the ability to hit their can out of the way, send them back if you could. It was a free-for-all. Winters, sometimes it was beautiful. The snow would fall on the trees, and it would just be laden on top. And whatever, in libraries, they did a lot of good. I think they even built dams, helped with the construction of some of the dams. And there was TWA, the Tennessee Valley program, that people would get electricity into the homes then. So those were all very fine programs. And now people today think, well, that he started all this Social Security stuff, and it's been a lot of people disapprove of what he did, but he did a lot of good for the country. This is my feeling about it. And today's politics, I really think that I could get way too emotional, because our present system is not working very well for the common man. In fact, now they've just passed a law. Finally, they're going to pay $7.25 an hour. That'll be the minimum wage, and that's going to be over a 2-year period that they're going to increase that to. And even people that are doing public service, it's hard for teachers, for instance, come to a place like Santa Rosa, they can't afford to buy a house. And a lot of other public employees cannot afford to buy a house in a city like this. Then in high school, I'm just going to go on to my high school days. So about the first week of school and the freshman class in Oklee High School, participated in a lot of extracurriculars activities in high school. And I was I think except for a couple of months, I was always on the honor roll. I had a little trouble getting started, and I was really tearful because I was so desperate. I wanted so much to do well, and my mother encouraged me to, stick with it, it'll all come to you. But for a couple of weeks there, it was not easy for me either. So anyway, I was in such things as a declamation, which was learning to speak before the public, and they would give you a theme. You had to learn the facts about this and be ready to present it. And so I got up to the regional level in that category of extemporaneous speaking, which means you have to be able to speak without, you can have notes, but you can't have a prepared speech. So that was useful to me in my life. And I graduated as salutatorian. There was one valedictorian, and then I shared the salutatorian honors with another girl. So I did well in high school. And I wanted to go to college right away. After I graduated, I talked to my mother. I wanted to go straight to college that summer, and which I did. I went through, I went straight to Bemidji State Teachers College, which was, well, it was a prep school for other occupations other than teachers, but primarily it was to train teachers. And I really hadn't thought of being a teacher. I really had wanted to be a secretary. I thought that was a more sophisticated career, but I'm glad I went into teaching because there were a lot of advantages and a lot of satisfaction in teaching. After the summer school and 1 year of college, I was home then for that summer vacation, and the county superintendent came out to our house, and he had heard that I had gone to college, and he wanted to know if I would be interested in having a teaching job. Well, I have no credential, I have no experience at all in teaching except to have gone to school. I remember when they hired me, one of the school board members was concerned that I was pretty young, and the previous teacher had quite a bit of difficulty with one of the students, and they were concerned, how I was going to be able to handle it. And I said, well, I think I can handle it. I didn't know how. I just said, yes, I think I can do it. And so the very first time this little boy acted up, I knew who he was because they had told me what his name was and all that. And so the way these one-room schools were, is you'd have one big room where the class was. And then there was a coat room where you first entered the building. They would call it a cloak room. And that's where the kids would hang their jackets and put their little lunch pails and all this. And so I took Bobby into the cloakroom. I told him to come here, please, and he did. And I had him stand against the wall, and I just put my hands on his shoulders, and I just told him, I'm not going to have any of this kind of behavior. He was just shaking. I really got to him. Nowadays, I don't know if you could do this, but I did not hurt him. I just put my hands like I wanted to talk to him face to face, look him straight in the eye, and I never had another bit of problem with him. He was a very nice little boy. So I that year, I didn't tell about my first experience where I stayed because I couldn't go home every night. Well, I had known Leo in college, my husband. And so he came out to Olga, and he would, and we would go to Oklee together, to our hometown. Both Leo and I lived, our parents lived in Oklee. So he would pick me up at Olga, and we would go to back with our parents, to go and be with our parents, and we would go to dances on Saturday night and all that, and that's the kind of dating we did. We would go to dances or movies. And then in June of that year, May, it was opening a fishing season in Minnesota, I remember, and so he asked me to marry him. And I said I would. So then I had to tell the board that I wouldn't be returning because I didn't know where we would be living. And I was still on a provisional credential back then, which meant that there was a temporary credential because I wasn't fully qualified. I hadn't gotten all the units I needed to be a teacher. I had never done any student teaching or anything. Never learned from anybody else. I just learned by myself. I did okay, I think.
3 days ago, she came down with COVID. We made for 4 years, and she's been working so hard to get ready, and she apologized she couldn't be with us. But yesterday, the good news, I did the COVID test, and it said, I've got C, and is that COVID? Because I don't really do these tests that often. No, it means I passed the control test, but no Well, the other one is T. I guess T means you didn't pass the test. You got COVID. So I'm okay still so far. But I was going to say earlier is that if you want to be at a table, wear your mask. Look at my buff. I had my buff in case I needed to wear it, so I'm good to go. But at any rate, so that's why Grace is near. I do have her eulogy, and actually thought I was going to read it, but she has a video too. So that'll be yet another video. So we'll have my mom's part 2 and a couple other videos, her 90th birthday party, her 95th birthday party. And you may wonder what this is all about here.
Well, you can jump on it.
Something like that. No, and about 3 months ago, my mom was, well, I'm going to save it, but this has something to do with my mom, and you're going to have a chance to play the game that I played with her, but she loved to have fun, as I do. So we're going to have some fun with that a little bit later, too, if you can stay around up till the latter part of the program.
Okay, I just have to say, hi, I'm Shirley. I knew Delia from being an Oakmont resident, and I live in Oakmont also. Also, our good friend Bev would have different things going on, and I got to know Delia actually through Bev, probably. That's the best way to put it. Delia had her house down there on the golf course. I loved that. It was such a beautiful view. And the first thing I remember about Delia was going to that residence and how welcoming she was. It was just, you know, she was just a really sweet, wonderful, hospitable person. So those are the things I remember about Delia. It was a time when the Oakmont group over there at the restaurant had music going on. So the music drifted across the golf course to where we were at the back of her house there. So it was just a really beautiful setting. And that's about the first time I met Delia. We also we were teachers together. I mean, that's our group. And we were in DKG, which is Delta Kappa Gamma, which means we believe in education and sponsor that and excellence in education and want to work with the young people and women in education and, you know, to bring them along and help in many ways. So she was part of that group, and so I met her with different meetings going on. So again, I just want to say she was just a lovely person. I wish I'd known her earlier in life, but I'm really privileged to have known her when I did. So, sweetheart, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm Bev, and Delia and I were such close friends because we only lived, how many doors apart? 1, 2,
4?
3?
Yeah, 3 or 4.
I don't know. And we just had so many things in common, unbelievable. Not only were we teachers, so we heard all that. And Delia joined our Delta Kappa Gamma group, our Ed Upsilon that Shirley was telling about, but also our retired teachers group, California Retired Teachers, which fights for our pensions to keep an eye on them and our health care issues, and also fights for women. Yes, we're in there, and I'll tell you, Delia was one, and that's it. I mean, women teachers and women's rights, that was very important to Delia. And don't monkey around with telling her otherwise. Delia was so intelligent. So intelligent. And she never forgot a thing. Well, do you know she even had a whole file cabinet full of Michael's laughing, of National Geographic articles on countries that she was going to visit. And if you were going on a trip, she'd say, oh, I've got just the article you'll want to read about it. And she sure did. And one thing that was a bond between us was both our husbands had Parkinson's disease. And those of you that know about Parkinson's disease, know that it is a long trip down a very, very hard road. About 25 years usually. And so Leo and Cliff traveled that road together. And they, the veterans groups wanted veterans that had Parkinson's to join a research group, because it is thought that people that have Parkinson's get it from chemical exposure in many cases. And of course, many times they have many service people that have Parkinson's disease. So they wanted to be able to test them. So you went to UCSF and you went to Fort Miley in San Francisco at this time. They have this big research going. So we drive down, the four of us, and we had a wonderful time there at Fort Miley because we'd stay and eat. And I don't know how many of you ever go to Fort Miley, but in San Francisco that has the most expansive, gorgeous view of the ocean and the beach and everything. They've got the prime property. So it's lots of fun to just go there and eat. And that we did that over and over and over again while they were in this research project. So that was something. The other thing that we had in common was travel. Delia was such an adventurous person. Oh my gosh. I forget where she went on that. Where was it? New Guinea.
Yeah, she just kept spending my inheritance, that woman. I told her, enjoy it, mother, enjoy it.
She went to New Guinea because she wanted to meet the Aboriginal group that lived in New Guinea, and darn if she didn't do it. I can't believe it. She had to take a mail boat over there to visit with them. I'm not sure they spoke the same language even, but she did it and came back, and we were like, are you kidding me? But she always was thinking of these trips that she kept all the information on in that file cabinet. So that was another thing. And of course, our big thing, of course, was teaching too. And she was pretty darn upset about teacher salaries. Always about teacher salaries. I mean, she just, and how women often in teaching would get the short end of the stick a lot of times. I can remember that in San Francisco when I started teaching. Oh yeah, they had the boys club. And you didn't get to join the boys club. They were the principals, they were the administrators. I saw some of the worst administrators were some of the men there. You went, holy smokes. But that is what happened early on, and Delia was really wanting to work for anything, any organization that would give women rights. The other thing that Delia did, along with Maureen on our Mockingbird Circle, was to start the lunches, the Mockingbird Circle ladies' lunches. And that has become a really wonderful thing. I think they must have started about, I'm trying to figure how many years ago, it must be close to 20 years ago. And it's grown to the point where now men come too, not to the lunches, but we twice a year have a men's group. And the idea was that we would bind together on Mockingbird Circle and we would know each other. And it's in Oakmont, it's known as the one area that is very social and getting together, and other blocks have started doing that too. So we have to remember Delia, and of course Maureen at that time, who also passed away from Parkinson's disease. Interesting how that all went on. And I think that's enough. Except Michael. This is a wonderful tribute to your mother. It really is.
Well, before Bev goes, I'm not sure if how this worked, but I kind of think in some ways my mother was reincarnated into Bev. Don't go down yet, Bev. I'm not through with you yet. Because, they talk just the same way. And although I think my mom was really inspired by you. But when the two got together, yes, some things on women's life in the best positive light. But, it's not always been fair for women. And so with the American Association of University Women and your groups, it's like, and Bev, she's got a servant's heart for things she does for Kiwanis and all the rest of the organizations. I like to joke and say she never learned in school to say no was the problem, was what happened. So you've done so much for so many people for so long. I thank you for your service and for being my mom's great friend. So namaste. Thank you so much. Wow. Who can beat that story? Wow. I'm glad I didn't have to do that one.
I didn't say,
Yes?
too, that one of the reasons was that my family also came from immigrant families who settled, homesteaded, and grew up the same way. So we have a lot in common. And the women did a lot of the work. I know my grandmother milked those cows, and my mom said the same thing. I'm not going to be a farmer's wife. I'm not going to live on this farm anymore.
You chose wisely.
She made it to San Francisco. Thank goodness.
Yes, I don't miss the snow from Minnesota all that much. It was great. Much of the year I missed the 10,000 lakes, but yeah, I'm glad when I was 7, and because of the Wuxkees, and they said, hey, they're moved out to California, and my folks followed in their footsteps, and the rest was kind of history. I grew up in Redding, and yeah, it was kind of hot up there in the summertime, but when they had the houseboat on Lake Shasta, and they coated it with the Wuxkees, and we had great times up there with Pat and Mary and Mike. He was a card. He was kind of like, you heard about my mom talk about Bobby. He was like that. But I gotta say is that my Grace, she has a lot of dimensions to her, and one of them is she could say things that I probably shouldn't say as a man. And so I never would have got this, but she watched the part about Bobby, and when she said, I took Bobby by the hands and I started to shake them, and Grace says, well, Delia, you were really quite attractive, and he only came up to about your chest breast line there, and, he might have been shaking for other reasons, and you got him to shake real quick. Grace and my mom could joke about these things, but I won't go any further. But anyway, would anybody else like to go before we start up with the part 2?
So I actually had to prepare something because I didn't want to get tongue-tied while I was up here. So if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go ahead and read a few thoughts that I had about my Grandma Delia. So, reflecting on how Grandma Delia affected my life, I'm reminded of the book by Gary Chapman about the 5 love languages. They are quality time, physical touch, acts of service, gift-giving, and words of affirmation. Quality time. Grandma Delia and Grandpa Leo made time for me growing up. I'd often visit their house in Redding on Oakwood Place on summer vacations, and we'd usually spend Christmas and summer and Easters together. One summer vacation, they took their Airstream from Thousand Trails near Patrick's Point up north on the coast through Oregon and Washington for a month. They invited me to go. I was about 8 or 9. We had a great time traveling and visiting the sites, like the warm, dry sand dunes where nothing grew, to lush, green, wooded areas with raspberry-colored rhododendrons in bloom. Another family traveled with us, and they had kids around Uncle Eddie and my age. Still, though, I got homesick, and sometimes I couldn't fall asleep. She patiently spent time comforting me, offering suggestions on counting sheep, or imagining gazing at clouds up in the sky to help me relax. I'd wake up with terrible tangles and learn the terms rat's nest. After much brushing, Grandma had the idea to put me to sleep in braids, which fixed that problem. While I didn't like getting my hair brushed, Grandma loved having her hair brushed. Which brings me to our next love language, physical touch. During another visit to the house on the hill, I was a bored young teen and asked Grandma Delia if I could brush her hair. I discovered that she liked getting her hair brushed. I could brush her short, wavy, salt and pepper hair for a long time in all the different directions, as long as I didn't tangle it. And she loved it. She said it felt like getting her scalp massaged. Thinking about the love language acts of service, Grandma prided herself on being a pretty good cook. Growing up, I'd offer to help her in the kitchen, whether at home or on their houseboat on Lake Shasta. I remember her letting me prepare the fruit salad for breakfast while she prepared the pancakes. It felt great to be included and help contribute to the meal. I remember her acts of service, like bringing potluck dishes to Airstream rally gatherings, ambrosia salad, casserole, or chocolate chip cookies. And today, one of my family's favorite dishes is a recipe that is Grandma-inspired, her turkey enchilada casserole. Gift giving. More recently, when Grandma downsized and got ready to move in with Dad and Grace, she was very generous, offering a family heirloom secretary that's been in her family for multiple generations, a fine china set, and artwork from her travels. When I see them in my home, I often think of her and her kindness and wanting to pass them down to future generations. Words of affirmation. The last few times my family got to visit Grandma in Petaluma were bittersweet. Like the dark chocolate, she enjoyed a small square of daily. Being a headstrong and independent woman, she was not shy in sharing her views or opinions, whether you'd agreed or not. So she was not one for flattery. Compliments were well earned. So when she shared with me that I had done a good job in raising my family and that she loved me and enjoyed spending our time together, it meant a lot. I just have another story. This actually is not on here, but I remember when I had my oldest son in school, and we had made the decision to homeschool. And I remembered how hard it would be to tell my grandma, who's an educator, that I would be homeschooling. So I looked at it this way. I said, Grandma, I'm joining the field of education. And I'm not getting paid, but the way I get paid is in hugs and smiles and just in enjoying watching my kids learn and grow. And so when I framed it to her in that way, she was very supportive, which was a relief. And so anyways, those are just a few thoughts and ideas that I've had on some time spent with Grandma, and I hope that you can look back on your time spent with Grandma and remember some positive memories as well. Thank you very much.
Ooh, thank you, Jenni. That was wonderful. So, yes, Jenni and my mom and dad, we could have a lot of wonderful stories all through the day and night, but yeah, I raised Jenni from 4th grade on as a single parent, and she was kind of like a partner, like almost like a spouse. Jenni, where do you want to go out for dinner? Jenni, you're ready to start driving a car at age 14. Let's go on the back road. So, at any rate, yeah, she had a great relationship with my mom and dad, and they were, I will say, when Jenni, because she had this responsibility and authority at a young age, is that, yes, when she went to college, I said, Jenni, just get a bachelor's degree. It doesn't really matter, because she went to quite a few JCs, and then she's like, well, okay, I really love art. And so she went at Hayward State and art history and gallery art, and, you know, it's like, I would see these books, and she would memorize every detail. You know, when you have something, whatever it is in your life, that you're passionate about, it's so easy, it just comes naturally, and you want to spend time with it. So, and obviously that helped for her to say, I want to do homeschooling. She's got already where she's graduated. You saw my mom when she got kind of first year of school, and she's all of a sudden she's in a classroom. But you know, what doesn't kill us only makes us grow stronger. And Jenni has her 3 kids that she's done such a marvelous job with homeschooling, and I'm so proud of them, except they're a little bit too smart. I'm going to say this as a joke because they're all still at home. I mean, why didn't I do that? My mother, when I got to be a teen, it was like, she would say, Michael, you know, when I was young, I was obstinate, but then later on it was be like, you know, you like to argue a lot. You should be a lawyer. And I chewed on that for 40 years, and I finally thought, why didn't I tell her? You want to be a judge, mother, a judge. But, you know, we had certainly a wonderful relationship when I got out on my own. And so Jenni has all of the kids. They have all their responsibilities. They're a great collective family, and I'm so proud of everything they've done and that my mother is going on through the generations. And same for my sister-in-law, Brenda, and Brittany, my granddaughter. And so, you know, it's wonderful where we can pay it forward. And we'll hear more about my mom, is that being able to influence lives and to be able to make the world a better place, I think, is what life should be all about. So would anybody else like to go, or shall I play part 2? Anybody else be interested, or you want to wait a little bit more? Going? Okay, I'll start up part 2, and then we can come off and hear some more. But I will say, is what you heard Bev say about my mom and woman's right. It's the end of part 2. My mom got to be where she was fairly candid, you know, where at first when you're young, and, you know, like young girls, you always want to please your parents. And then as she grew up,
this ends the story of my life up to this date, and I hope there's many more years to follow. So maybe I can make another tape. And I hope that you enjoy this. If it's too boring, you can fast forward, and if not, why, you can turn the whole thing off, but I hope you like it, and I'm sure you will. So, hoping that we see one another again sometime soon. I graduated salutatorian. There was one valedictorian, and then I shared the salutatorian honors with another girl. So I did well in high school. And I wanted to go to college right away. After I graduated, I talked to my mother. I wanted to go straight to college that summer, and which I did. I went straight to Bemidji State Teachers College, which was, it was a prep school for other occupations other than teachers, but primarily it was to train teachers. And I really hadn't thought of being a teacher. I really had wanted to be a secretary. I thought that was a more sophisticated career, but I'm glad I went into teaching because there were a lot of advantages and a lot of satisfaction in teaching. After the summer school and 1 year of college, I was home then for that summer vacation, and the county superintendent came out to our house, and he had heard that I had gone to college, and he wanted to know if I would be interested in having a teaching job. Well, I have no credential. I have no experience at all in teaching except to have gone to school. And so, well, that looked pretty attractive, you know, that I'd be able to start making money. And I was assigned to this school in Dorothy, Minnesota. That was about 30 miles from home. And I think there were 24 in my little one-room school there too. So I just taught there 1 year, and this was in a mostly French-Canadian community too, although it was kind of mixed. So then the next year I went to another school district, and this was in a different county, in Olga. It's not on the map. If you look on the map, you won't find it. But it's by Gonvik, Minnesota. And that was just a joy teaching there. It was a Norwegian community, believe it or not. Here I am, a French-Canadian ancestry, and I'm teaching in a Norwegian community. But I really did better there than I did in the first school. Maybe I had learned a little bit too. But they were really nice kids there. And the parents were very supportive. I remember when they hired me, one of the school board members was concerned that I was pretty young, and the previous teacher had quite a bit of difficulty with one of the students, and they were concerned, how I was going to be able to handle it. And I said, well, I think I can handle it. I didn't know how. I just said, yes, I think I can do it. And so the very first time this little boy acted up, I knew who he was because they had told me what his name was and all that. And so I took Bobby into the cloakroom. I told him to come here, please, and he did. And I had him stand against the wall, and I just put my hands on his shoulders. And I just told him, I'm not going to have any of this kind of behavior. He was just shaking. I really got to him. Nowadays, I don't know if you could do this, but I did not hurt him. I just put my hands like I wanted to talk to him face to face, look him straight in the eye, and I never had another bit of problem with him. He was a very nice little boy. So that was the year that, I had known Leo in college, my husband, and so he came out to Olga, and he would, then we would go to Oklee together, to our hometown. Both Leo and I lived, our parents lived in Oklee. So he would pick me up at Olga, and we would go to back with our parents, to go to be with our parents, and we would go to dances on Saturday night and all that, and that's the kind of dating we did. We would go to dances or movies. And then in June of that year, May, it was opening a fishing season in Minnesota, I remember, and so he asked me to marry him, and I said I would. So then I had to tell the board that I wouldn't be returning because I didn't know where we would be living. Well, I taught in Reading for quite a few years. I've got some wonderful pictures of my classes that I've saved, when the photographer would come in the spring usually, and so all of the students would line up and I'd be in there with the class. And when I look back at those pictures, I think, wow, I was a good-looking girl back then, woman. I mean, I was. I didn't even realize it at the time. But now, looking like I do now, and I look back then, I think, wow, I was pretty good-looking. So, education has been a very big part of my life. And I've had many wonderful years, and I hope I've done well for my students. But then another thing came up. Amway. I don't know if I want to even go into this. Amway enticed us that we could become multimillionaires in no time at all. And they showed us how to do it. What it really was a lot of people felt that you were trying to take advantage of your friends. And that was taking so much time that I couldn't devote all this time with Amway and my teaching too. And I was 51, And so then the other thing that happened for my early retirement was I was taking blood pressure medicine, and one of the pharmacies in Reading gave me the wrong medication, and I was wanting to sleep like 20 hours a day. So I just couldn't handle it. You know, when you're tired, like I was, I just wanted to sleep. I finally figured out that the pill was just a wee bit different than what I'd been taking. So I went to the other pharmacy with the pill, and I asked them what that pill was. And they told me it was for Parkinson's. So I went back to the first pharmacy, and I asked for a refill on my prescription. And so they did, they filled it. And when they gave it to me, I said, I don't intend to pay for this. And I explained to them what had happened. And I think they had heard, because they were ready to, they didn't contest it at all. I called the doctor and asked him, you know, what kind of long-term effects there might be. And he said he didn't think that there would be any problem, that, you know, it would wear out. But, I mean, that was one of the things. After we retired, we were only, I was only 51, and Leo was about 54 or 5, I guess. And so it seemed like we were pretty young to retire. But we saw so many of our friends who lived to be and worked till 65, and in 1 year or two, or a very short time, one or the other of the spouse would be gone. And so we decided, well, maybe we won't have as much, but at least we'll have time, which is worth a lot too. And we had really gotten a taste for travel. So we had an Airstream trailer, and we had done gone to rallies and traveled around with the Airstream during the summer. And we had gone to Europe and picked up a Mercedes in 1977 and had enjoyed that trip a lot. So we wanted to see the world, we wanted to see the country and the continent. So traveling has been, that has been my passion. I have been to Brazil, to the Amazon and the Pantanal in Brazil with the Elder Hostel. That's a good program if anybody's interested in that. They're easily accessible on the internet now. And they're designed for people 55 and over who are still interested in learning. And they are not cheap, but whatever they say it's going to cost you, that is all. There's not going to be any optional tours or any extras. So what you see is what you get, and you don't have to plan on any more and bringing any checkbook or credit card. And so besides there, I've been to India. I've been to, well, we took a trip to Kenya, and also at that same time we took a cruise down the Nile and saw the pyramids and a lot of the ruins in Egypt. I guess Kenya, that was really a very special trip. We'd go for an early drive in the morning in the vans that have pop tops, so you're really out in the open and you can put your camera out and get pictures. One of the things I vividly remember is one day we came to a place where the lions were eating a wildebeest. And so we've got our cameras really, and we are within 10 feet of this happening. There's a male lion and I don't know, 3 or 4 female lions. And of course, a lion's sex life. You want to read about that, that's good. Then we came across some elephants one day that were in a kind of a clearing where there were a lot of other trees and bushes around. And one of the elephants was flapping its ears. Our driver the Kenyan driver. He really was very knowledgeable about the behavior of these animals. And he recognized when this elephant was doing this and kind of putting its head up and so on, that we'd better get out of there. So he backed up the van into an area where he could back up and started going away from these elephants. And this elephant started after us and was following. And we're all saying, is it still following? Is it still following? And we were kind of scared, but we had one doctor in our van, and he was always barefoot. Anyway, he was taking pictures, and he was in seventh heaven taking pictures of this. So when we finally got out of there and the elephant quit following us, we said, Charles, our driver, Charles, were you just doing this just to give us some excitement? He said, oh, no. No, he called me Big Mama. No, Big Mama, this elephant was mad. We think that there was an injured elephant in there, and, you know, the ants, they take care of the baby elephants too. And then we would see the elephants take the big locust trees, just smash the branch right down and eat all the leaves off the trees. Then we have gone to China, did a Yangtze cruise, went to the Great Wall, saw the Xi'an figures, Guilin, also the Grand Canal. Not a place to be missed. Most tours don't have the Grand Canal, but that should be included. If you go to China, you should see the Grand Canal. We also did a cruise on the Volga in Russia. We went to St. Petersburg first, and from there we took the Volga down as far as Moscow, and we went into Finland also on that particular trip. And we made another trip to Europe, to France, and we made a trip to the British Isles. And I've made a trip. Now, some of these trips Leo didn't go because he doesn't like these kind of places. I had gone to Thailand some years ago with Elder Hostel, and my last big trip was to Laos, Cambodia, well, and Thailand that time, and South Vietnam. I almost missed the plane back to the United States from South Vietnam in Ho Chi Minh City. When we were ready to go, I was in a wheelchair because I'd asked to be in a wheelchair. I didn't have to be in a wheelchair. But anyway, they took me down into a room and forgot that I was there, and the plane is about ready to leave. So I'm asking some of the people around there, well, I said, you know, my plane's about ready to leave. Finally, some supervisor came, and he gets on his telephone, and he makes some calls, and so the plane is getting ready to take off. But they must have held it up because they came with a truck that had a lift, and so they put my wheelchair on this lift, brought me up into the truck. Then the truck went out on the airfield, found the airplane, and they are getting ready to close the hatches. Now this truck lifts me up again to where the door is on the plane. So I just barely made it, and I was not feeling well at all. I had gotten an infection, and I thought, oh, if I hadn't gotten on that plane, I would have been left there alone. The rest of the group that I was with would have been gone, and I would have had to stay overnight, and I would have just cried. So I think I won't take any more trips in that area. I had so much wanted to go to Papua New Guinea. It's been an obsession with me for a long time to go to Papua New Guinea. And everybody says, are you crazy or what? But that is the most exotic place I can think of. And the most primitive people on all the world in all the world that I can know of anyway, that is where they live. They didn't even know what civilization was there until about 20 years ago. And I think there you would see the real culture. Now, we've been on cruises too. Somebody, it was my nephew, asked me, why do you go to all these places? Is it just so you can tell people you've been there? And I got to thinking, my gosh. I guess it's my curiosity again. Once you have a taste for travel, I mean, it's just limitless what there is in the world. Why shouldn't we see it? And so that's my feeling, and I want to learn. Even though, we're through college and we're through learning out of books, doesn't mean we have to quit learning. So anyway, I am going to be 80 April 2007. As I told you at the beginning, I remember saying that I've never been ashamed of my age, and I still am not. I'm proud that I've gotten here, and I think that I've been very lucky to have lived this long, and that I've had a good life, and I have no regrets. That I suppose I would say, well, I wish that I had learned more when I was young, that I had pursued more learning, but then I would have missed what I did do, and what I did do was important too. So I don't see any reason to say, well, I shoulda, because I did what I wanted. One trip that we took was to Alaska. We had a pickup camper, and that's very convenient to get around. I was on a picture taking of a wildflower safari that time. So on that same trip, we got to Dawson, which is up pretty close to the Arctic Circle. And there was an airport there that would take you across the Arctic Circle to a couple of places on the Bering Sea. So I thought, yes, I'd like to do that. I'd like to see what the tundra and all that looks like from the air. And but Leo decided he didn't want to go, so I went, and there were 4 people besides myself on the plane and the pilot. And the pilot, since I was the single person, he had me sit alongside of him on the way going. Well, we had to fly in between the Oklee mountains, back and forth, and mountains on both sides. About halfway, our plane, the oil pressure just goes to 0. And we are wondering what is going to happen now. Well, the plane has to land very soon. And it just happens to be close enough to Ingelvik that we can make it there, but not much further. Well, there again, they have to clear the airport and make darn sure that that we can come down on this airfield. The plane is finished. It's not going anywhere after this. So they have to call back to Dawson to get another plane up here to take us back to Dawson. Well, this pilot, when I asked him if he's pretty familiar with this route, because I remember us going back and forth through these Oklee mountains, and it's a cloudy day, and I'm thinking, does he know the route? Well, he says he hadn't done it in 20 years. And so I thought, oh, this doesn't sound very secure at all. Well, now I'm sitting in the back seat. Somebody else is in the front seat. And he's got his map on his lap all the time, looking at his map and looking at the instruments. And we did get back. I must say that for being 80, that I've survived pretty well, considering both of my parents died at 72. I think, well, look, I have 8 years more than they did, and they lived a clean, healthy life. They didn't smoke, they didn't drink. They worked hard, which is supposed to be good for your health, all their lives. But anyway, here I am at 80. I feel really blessed that I'm still here. And I've never had any serious illness. I had easy childbirth with both of my boys. And by the way, since I haven't brought this up before, I feel very proud of my family, that both of my sons have turned out very, very well. I guess you could say they survived in spite of us. But they are wonderful, wonderful people. And so we're proud of that. One thing I feel is that I'm really a different person now than I have been, say, 50 years ago. At that time, women were they were the dependents, and so if you were married, you were, you did what your husband did or wanted you to do, and if you were still at home, then you did what your father and your mother wanted you to do. And I was always a conformist. I did everything to please everybody. And I was pretty good at that. But it got to the point, especially when I was teaching, that I was supposed to do certain things according to the higher-ups in administration. In the classroom, they suggested, doing certain things, and I thought, well, I could handle that, and they would not know the difference. I would do it my way. That's the good comment there. I could do it my way, and nobody need know the difference. And I feel that I was capable of making my own decisions in my own classroom, and my best administrators, the ones I feel were the most effective, were the ones that hired teachers that they knew from their reputation that they were good teachers, and then they let them teach instead of being guided along every step. So as time progressed, I became more independent, and I wasn't so anxious to please all the time, and I became more comfortable with myself. And I feel that, who I am is who I am, and if somebody can't stand who I am, they can go find somebody else to be with. And I think I have gained more friends since I became my own person instead of trying to be somebody else than I did before. I feel much more secure in myself than I did that many years ago. A lot of the people in my social group consider me a leader and seem to respect me. And when I talk, they listen. And I do the same with other people. If somebody is talking, I like to concentrate on what they're saying. And I think that's why people seem to tend to look at me when they're talking. For some reason, I always feel, why are they just talking to me? Why don't they talk to the people alongside here? Because they can see that I am a listener when they're talking, and they reciprocate. So these are things I feel are assets. So this ends the story of my life up to this date, and I hope there's many more years to follow. So maybe I can make another tape. And I hope that you enjoy this. Bye-bye.
Way to go, Mother. Woo-hoo. So a little bit about IOC. When I worked for AT&T for 28 years, and I was like my parents when I was 52. I'm ready to retire. I had a pension, My then wife, Margot, had breast cancer, and I said, we're going to have some good years before she's gone. And we did. And so one of the things, though, when you work in operations department, everything's kind of like, yes, sir. You do things, by the number. But then later on, you get into management. As Mom says, you're working with leaders and things like that. And it's kind of interesting, You find out the way sausage is made, so to speak. And so when I was in Bell Labs, a very prestigious unit where all the inventions and most everybody's PhD, I happen to be a good software engineer and had a lot of skills. So, I was working in that department for a couple of years. And they would say, well, yeah, Michael, sometimes you got to use the IOC. And IOC, the illusion of compliance. So when headquarters comes out, you're going to separate the way you do things. We used to be by product, now we're going to do it by geographic or by customer, who knows? And these people are like, oh, that's a great idea. They've seen it before, and then they go and it's like, no, they're not going to change at all. And I think it's better to be open with your communications, but there are those things, I guess, that my mother was implying, is that sometimes when, people need to feel like they're earning their keep as a principal or superintendent or whatever, and she got to be where, not the head, give it the IOC, but then I thought, when she feels like she's know what she's doing. But obviously, whenever we can, we want it to be a win-win. But some of that independent, I don't know if she's always happy she taught me that, but hey, that's what happens. It runs in the family. So at any rate, we'd love to have a couple more come out. I have the next segment was her 90th birthday party, but it won't be with her. It'll be what people say about her. So that'll be interesting to go 9 years forward from this. So she had done a lot of travel from when she was 80. And as I said, go ahead, spend my inheritance and enjoy it. And she did. So, but she had also taken Grace and I on cruises too. In fact, when I was finally ready to propose, I said, Mom, when we go to Alaska on a trip, is that I'm going to propose. I want you to, use my video camera, and I want you to, I'm going to get down on my knee and I'm going to say, Mom, for all the wonderful things you did, I thank you for this. And then I'm going to give you the camera and I'm going to get down on my knee and I'm going to pop the ring out and make the big proposal to Grace. And so she did it. She said, well, I tell her, make sure, do it. She said, oh yeah, we've talked about this before. And Grace said, oh, well, something must be up here. But at any rate, I think one of you said is that when she saw the video sometime later, it made her start crying when I did the proposal. So we'll have some more about what people say about her shortly, but I'm sure a couple of you would like to come up, I know.
Hi, I'm Grace, Michael's wife, Delia's daughter-in-law, and as she dubbed me, the best daughter she never had. That nickname is just one of the many clever things she would come up with. She never ceased to amaze me. I grew to anticipate the twinkle that would light up and dance in her eyes just before she would say something funny, witty, or clever. It was her signature, that she was amused and having a good time. The picture you are seeing now is the first one of many over the years the two of us would take. As you can see, we became fast friends, or sisters, as she would sometimes say. She had a way of making everyone feel special, seen, and important. As I went through the pictures for the memory board, so many touched me. This picture here, the one I refer to as the I Love Lucy pose, was taken many years before I had met her. I saw pictures of she and Leo that attested to the love story that they shared. She always said that she had had a blessed life and was always proud of her two sons, Michael and Eddie. From a farmer's daughter, her lifelong thirst for education took her on a path to become a school teacher, a wife, a mother, a friend, and a world traveler. She shared her journeys with us. She was our inspiration and our awe. We will forever be blessed by her gifts of time that she spent with us. I'm sorry I couldn't be here in person today. I would be remiss if I didn't tell the ladies of Mockingbird Circle how very special each and every one of you were to her. Bev, Kate, Millie, Carolyn, you all brought your own special gifts to the table, and they were always appreciated. For more than 35 years of friendship and looking out for each other, Michael and I thank you from the bottom of our hearts for the love that you have shown and continue to show. In closing, I would like to read a poem by Mary Elizabeth Fry that touches my heart when I think of Mother. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on the snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry, I am not there, I did not die.
Hi, my name is Susan McMillan, and I'm going to tell you how. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, it sounded so normal, but I'm going to tell you how I met Michael and Delia and Jenni, and my first husband, Peter, is sitting back there, and he attended a class or a presentation that Michael was speaking about regarding computers, and they were, we're computer guys before computers were even a thing. So I think Michael came over and helped Pete with his, whatever the problem was. And then Michael invited us to dinner, and we all became fast friends. And Jenni was just a little tiny thing. I still think of her as a little grown-up. So Michael mentioned that his parents had a houseboat, and we never been on a houseboat. He goes, let's all go. And I thought, okay, and I'm packing, I don't know what, like I'm going on a cruise, and we're only going for the weekend. And then at the last moment, he goes, oh, by the way, my parents are coming. And I said, what? Not that I cared, but he goes, oh yeah, when they bought this houseboat with the people from Minnesota, that was their rule. If the kids went on the houseboat, the parents had to come. And so I'm rolling my eyes around, Pete's rolling his eyes around, and I said, well, we're almost 30, But we all met at the dock, and we got on, and we had the best time. Delia was always cooking something, and Leo and Michael were entertaining us, and we just had the best time. I forgot how I was going to end this.
Well, before you do, I will say is that, so here we are, and you get up there pretty late in the evening, because, it's a long ways from Petaluma up, and so, we get up there. Yeah, and we were going to well, okay, you go up on the top of the houseboat, it's about 10 feet high, and whoopee, and you jump in the water, and it's dark and it's deep, and come on, Peter and Susan, come on. And they're like, we're not going to get in that water. We don't know what's in that water, and so, that was kind of where we started the weekend, but then the next day it got to be nice and go skiing and go on the houseboat, and it was a good getaway.
I don't know why I was upset that his parents were coming, not like we did anything exciting. But,
they wanted to party with you.
And so then Michael can entertain you for hours with his card tricks and his magic, and Leo was in on that, and then Eddie was in on that, and it was like dinner and show. But after that, we would see Leo and Delia when they would come to town, and one Sunday, we all piled in the car. I'm trying to think of what car this was. Maybe it was just it was you and me and Pete, and I don't know. Anyway, we rode around, they checked out different retirement places, and we came to Oakmont. And they just fell in love with Oakmont, so I feel responsible that they're here.
Woohoo! Thank you too, Susan. My mom always loved you.
I loved her.
I'm Brenda Nistler. I was married to Eddie, and this is Eddie's daughter, Brittany Nistler. When I first met Eddie, he would sit there and tell me about his mom. He said, my mom always loved when I would brush her hair. And I said, and I thought that was a little odd at first. I thought, well, why would your mom want you to brush her hair? That's weird. Because she loved it. She absolutely loved her hair brushed. And so I thought, okay, well, that's sweet. That's very sweet. So then we got married, and then Eddie started liking his hair brushed. So we had to brush his hair. Brittany would brush his hair as well, and he loved it. Delia was a wonderful, wonderful person, and we're blessed to be part of her life. It had been a while since I've seen her because of, for losing Eddie was the hardest thing for me. And now it just feels like it's again. But she was a wonderful, wonderful person. She really loved Brittany. She'd always call and check up on Brittany and say, well, how's she being today? Is she being a good girl, or is she giving you hard troubles, or what? And I remember one point when Brittany's teacher said she was ADHD, and Delia would say, well, I think you need to keep her off of red dye. So we tried the red dye situation. It didn't seem like it worked. So then the doctor decided to put her on some medicine, and we noticed some problems with that medicine, that she would pick her ears, and we asked Delia, what should we do? You know, because it was not a good situation with Brittany picking her ears and making it bleed. So Delia said, well, I really don't think she is ADHD. I think she just needs to be taught to behave and keep her off of the red dye. So it got to a point where I ended up having to go to Brittany's school and babysit her while she was in school to see the problem and to realize Delia was right. She didn't need to be on ADHD medicine. So we got her off of the pills, and we taught her on her own, and we kept her away from the red dye. And she'd look at her, she's a beautiful young lady, very proud of her. She, her dad wanted her to go to college. She went to college, and she did it for her grandmother, because she heard the story about Delia going to college. And so she went, and her grandmother was very, very proud of her. We're blessed to have her in our lives, and we loved her very much. And here, let Brittany talk.
One thing I'd like to say is, you know, with distance, it's hard to see family, but one thing I valued the most was those phone calls. I loved those phone calls, and I could hear about her adventures, her trips. I would sit there and think to myself, man, I want to go experience these things too. I want to see the world and travel, and I think that's something that her value I hold dear to my heart now, is I want to travel. I want to see the world and experience other cultures and see the people and how they live. And so I'm very grateful that I get that from her. So thank you.
Thank you. Time flies by when we're having fun. So, you know, the one is, I think, about 15 minutes. So I'm going to maybe see about getting some of the shorter ones so that we don't run out of time. And if any of you still want to have an opportunity to talk, we'll still have a little bit of time for that. So I think we'll jump forward to the 95th birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
And many, 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 many more.
Many more, Delia. Oh, isn't that beautiful?
Oh,
Make a wish.
you all have to see this. You have to
Are there 95 candles?
Yes, take it around the table.
It's
Blow the candles. You better blow.
Blow.
Yeah.
I did that on accident once.
She's my daughter-in-law. She's my daughter.
She's like your daughter.
We love your daughter-in-law.
The daughter she never had.
And still has all of her wit. Michael and I were telling her about an 18-year-old girl who found out she could make $45 million in 1 year by taking off her clothes. Woo! Delia said, I'll take off my clothes for $45 million. And then they'll pay me $45 million more to make me put my clothes back on. Very good.
Day.
like today.
Bring you sweet moments.
1970,
That was on the cruise 5 years ago.
71.
Joy of your friendship.
71 or 77.
Yeah,
And
77.
something over the years.
1977.
She would have been 40.
Hi, Delia. We are just wishing you a happy and a healthy birthday on your 60th,
and 70th,
80th.
and 90th.
We have many good memories of all the visits we've had with you. And Leo was one that was wonderful to entertain too. And we thank you, and say something.
And we want to apologize for one thing. When Merle and I used to chase you with the goat when you were in the toilet, coming out, and a happy birthday.
All right, this is our granddaughter, Olivia. She's 10 years old. And we're going to sing. She's a choir person, so she's going to sing Happy Birthday. And we're going to try to chime in. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Delia. Happy birthday to you. We love you.
We love you.
Hello, Delia. I'd like to wish you happy birthday on your wonderful 90th birthday. And I think of all the wonderful times we've had together. Times we went together on the houseboat for 15 years. And the time we went to France and stayed at Provence. And all the many wonderful trips and wonderful experiences we had. Again, have a nice birthday. We love you, and I hope you live to be 120.
want to wish you a very happy birthday today and throughout this whole year. You are in my thoughts and prayers, and I'm just so thankful that you're my grandma. You taught me so much, being creative and a love for nature and going outdoors and doing those sorts of things with you on the Airstream trailer, and cooking, spending time with you in the kitchen and helping you even like prep vegetables and things, you know, teaching me cutting skills from a young age. I always really appreciated that time we spent together. Watching you make homemade candles one year with the sand was so neat, and listening to you play the piano. And even though you tried to teach me and I wasn't very good, I just have that memory and that love of music that you shared. So gosh, there's so many memories that I have of fun things that we did together, like clam digging at Bodega Bay and other really fun memories. I want to thank you so much, and I'm wishing you all the best. I hope you have a wonderful birthday. Love you.
Hi Grandma, I just wanted to say happy birthday, and I love you and I miss you so much, and I hope you're doing alright.
Hi Auntie Delia, just want to wish you a very, very happy birthday and tell you how much we've enjoyed all of our trips to California and the time that we were able to spend with you. Wish there wouldn't have been so many miles in between us, but we always enjoyed our vacations with you. So I hope you have a really happy 90th birthday, and we'll be thinking of you.
Hi Auntie Delia, wanted to also wish you a happy 90th birthday. Congratulations on this wonderful milestone. I also wanted to just reminisce about our family reunion out visiting you back in the mid-90s. I remember you had a slideshow, and you were telling all kinds of wonderful stories about trips all over the world. I think one in particular was to India. I recall that you mentioned that at dessert time, they offered you something that you could eat and something else that you could, I believe, inhale. And you didn't mention which one you selected, and later I discreetly asked you privately, which one did you enjoy? And you smiled and discreetly answered, let me just say, I went back for seconds. I've always remembered that story fondly. The other thing I remember about that trip that I enjoyed for the very first time, and we've enjoyed many times since and thought of you all the time, is asparagus mixed in with scrambled eggs. So, a wonderful, happy 90th birthday to you. Congratulations.
Love you.
Birthday, Auntie Delia. Great accomplishment with all the things you've done. We always look forward to hearing about your travels, and we hope you have a great 90th birthday. We love you.
Happy birthday, Auntie Delia.
Happy birthday, Delia.
Happy birthday, Grandma Delia. It's been a pleasure. Happy birthday again. 90 years. I hope to be able to duplicate the same thing. Love being a part of the family. Birthday from all of us to you. We wish you a birthday so we can party with you. Hey, happy birthday. We hope you get your dreams come true. We wish you a birthday so we can party with you. Hey, happy birthday, Grandma Delia. Hope you have a great time on your cruise and go to see many amazing places. You always share great stories about where you've been, the types of cultures, and the things you see there. And I hope you have many more experiences of where you've been. So, safe travels, and I'm praying for you.
Hello from Washington, D.C. It's your great niece, Kate Reitz, and I just wanted to wish you, Auntie Delia, great Auntie Delia, a wonderful birthday. 90 years is one heck of an accomplishment and should be celebrated every day this year. I'm so happy that you're still with us. I only wish there weren't so many miles between us, but I'm most grateful for our relationship with you. I know it's been a while since we connected, but I just wanted to let you know that you've made a difference in my life. I remember when I was a young girl coming out to California for our family reunion, and for the first time seeing the redwoods and the Pacific Ocean, and at that time sitting down to slides that my parents seemed very, very interested in. And I remember seeing what was probably the India and hearing mostly of your excitement of travel. I had never before met someone who had traveled so extensively, and maybe to this day still haven't, because your travel repertoire is incredible. I would like to, I believe that you made an impact in my life and showing me that it is safe and fun to go to the destinations less desired. I hope to make my life and the journeys in my life to places that most others don't see fit for vacation, because I don't see vacationing like most people, and neither do you. I wish that we would have been able to do more travel together, but know that you've inspired me to continue seeking and to continue finding new places to check out around the world. So thank you for making a difference in my life, and I know that you've made a difference in many people's lives. I just love your inspiration and continued exploration, throughout your young adult years and older adult years, and the fact that you still have traveled on your own as a solo older adult. I'm very impressed. So congratulations on living a full life. It's many people wish they would have a life like yours, and I'm glad to have known you. And I hope that we'll see you soon. You never know when I have the ability to come out to California. But for now, from Washington, D.C., congratulations on 90 incredible years. Thank you. Have a great one.
Birthday, great Grandma Delia. I hope you have a wonderful day and a blessed year. You're always in our thoughts and prayers, and I hope you have a wonderful cruise.
Happy birthday, Grandma. Hope your day is absolutely amazing. And I also hope you have tons of fun on your cruise. And I'm so happy that you are able to live up to 90 years old. That's absolutely amazing. I can't wait to have more amazing times with you as well. Bye.
Hi, Delia. You're the best neighbor we've ever had. Happy birthday.
And Delia, you are the greatest chef. Your sit-down dinners are wonderful, and I love your delicious soup. So keep up the good work, Chef Neighbor.
Hi, Mom. I definitely hope you've enjoyed this video celebrating your wonderful 90th birthday. And I want to thank you so much for welcoming me so warmly into your family and being such a great role model. Thank you for raising such a wonderful man and my husband. So have a wonderful birthday, and I look forward to celebrating with you.
What she said. Isn't she a great daughter and daughter-in-law and whatever else she is? She's a lot of things, but you is who we're going to speak about now. Anyway, birthday girl, I guess here's the part where I can reflect on our lives together. And first off, teenage years, not going to talk about teenage years. Except for maybe one thing I'll get to in just a second. But yeah, I think you've got the better memory of the clan, don't you? So let's see. Looking back at our glorious years together, in addition to having been a great mom, I see you as a terrific teacher, a gorgeous gourmet cook. The gorgeous part, that's what Dad would have to say. But yes, you've always been the pretty girl, no doubt about that. Remember on the golf course when some of the guys said, "Oh, can we play golf with your sister and you?" "Yeah, sure. Don't you know?" Tim, you remember the Carmagia? Yeah, I remember that part of my teenage life. Oh yeah, you were hot, no doubt about it. So I'm happy to be some of the fruits of your labor, and that also includes the nocturnal night owl. Because when Grace gets the bubbly going out and have some nuts, yep, what do they say? The acorn doesn't fall too far from the tree. So anyway, I love the fact that you have been lifelong learning. I picked that up from you. The hobbies, the sports, just going out and being a good socialite and having good times. You're always very cheerful. And I thank you for all those attributes that you passed down on the gene pool. I thank you for your leadership, Mother, your love, your guidance, and every day with you has been and continues to be a gift. So thank you so much for everybody that you touch, and keep them coming, because you are the golden girl. Not to say that other word that you don't like from Minnesota, yes. So anyway, Miss Minnehaha, it's been fun, and I can't wait to do some more with you. Let's party.
Mwah! Love you.
Mwah. Bye, Mom.
Come away with me, come, let's go away to be on a new adventure for two. We can fly across the ocean or take a train together, I don't care as long as it's beside you. Take a road trip in a car, we'll get lost and go too far, while on the beaches we will watch the sunrise. And if we've done there's all to do, I'll just sit and stare into your loving face, graced with those beautiful eyes. Now we're going on vacation, a special destination, music, dancing, laughing, fun all around.
Video, but my wife graced it all. What do you think? Wasn't that a great job she did for the 90th birthday? And finally, I will say is that, you know, at each of your tables, I don't know if I got this table. I might have to get one for, I want a representative from each table. Oh, you got an extra one there. So get a representative. We're going to do some bubble popping, because 3 months ago, when my mother was towards the end of her life, that she still could have some feistiness to her, I'll tell you. And so here's something that I think you'll get a laugh out of, just to show that even at the end of her life, we could have fun.
Mother is going to see if she can pop some of the packing bubbles. Go! She is focused. Oh, she's vicious. Did she break it?
I guess she did.
She did. She's got 7. Oh, 8! Look at her go!
So good at this.
Oh, she is
Nothing
vicious.
To this.
Nothing to it.
This is just a
man. It's child's play.
A child's
isn't it?
play, yes.
What happens? Wait a second. What would happen if you went all the way through and then punctured your leg?
I'm not going to try that.
Okay, you're not going to go that far.
You are not going to tease me into that.
Okay. Oh, she did another one up to about 10. You have broke the code. She gets it nice and tight, and she shatters that baby. She is vicious. Don't make her mad, or you will pay the price. Yeah.
It's so easy.
Think you got almost all of them.
It's a child's play.
Oh, she's
I think
got
that one is already broken.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you've only got one left. Oh no, it's the last one. Oh, it's still good. Can she do the last one? No, it's fighting you. That must be the granddaddy. It doesn't want to puncture.
Don't tell me what I can't do. Don't tell me what I can't do.
Okay, what do you think? Quite a lady, wasn't it? So I know our time is kind of short. They're waiting to go home, but did anybody have any final words they wanted? Kitty, you, or anybody else that would like to do? I can
We have about enough for 1 or 2 short ones, if anybody wants to. Well, thank you all for being here. It's so wonderful to have you here and to get a chance. You know, I was with my mother for many years, and I learned so much from her. And I'm gonna get choked up now at this point, but I feel like she's taught me so much, and I'm so proud to be of her lineage, and to have all the people that I've had. The people that are all here that made it part of our lives. So I hope you can remember some of the things that she gives us for takeaways. I know I will reflect on this, and I'm just so pleased that here we are, and we had a chance to do what she wanted. I mean, I did for my father something similar to this, a dozen years ago, and so, it's to take a look at the glass is half full, the glass is there, the water is in it. I take that back. The wine is there. So she liked to have her wine in the Costco nuts we have at your table there. So if you want to take some, and I think we have some extra food there, if you want to take some we have, and some desserts if you'd like some of those. But on your way out, if you haven't, be sure to sign in. That would just be appreciative for the family. And if you didn't get some of the items, I don't know about you all, but I save these. And I don't wear my suits that often, but I was looking at, here's one I went to some years ago, so there's ways when I put on my suits that I kind of reminds me of all the great people in our life and how the lessons they've taught us. So thank you all so much for being here. And Kitty, do you want to try?
The flowers on the table.
Oh, the flowers are on the table, yes. And so I think those were meant to be shared, yes. So
Right.
thank you for... Yeah, so the flowers are yours to take, so somebody from each table, please get one. Grace put those together, and it's been 3 days now, so the COVID germs are no longer on them, but she did a lot of these things to prep for it, so that, and the scarves, oh, don't forget the scarves are over there also. So thanks a million for being here. Let's hope the next time we meet is under great circumstances for weddings and those other things, but have a great day, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Love you all. Happy trails, as we say.